Hey everyone, welcome to the TEConnect podcast. I'm John Martin.
And I'm Dean Reverman.
All right, Dean, if I say to you the phrase one size fits all, is that
Okay.
actually true for anything? Do you think there's anything,
No.
maybe like a hat? I mean,
I was going to go there. I was going to go with a hat, but I've had instances where the one size, no, it doesn't fit all.
I mean, because they do a lot of fitted hats now, but I guess there's a lot of flexible ones, and you can. But
okay.
what about maybe a good rain poncho? Those are usually pretty big anyway to kind of fit any
It's the size of a garbage bag,
exactly.
So yeah, it'll fit just about everybody.
I would think that's
it's still a bold claim. One size
true.
fits all.
Yeah, it's
really
hard to
bold
find any
claim.
two people that are precisely
From
alike.
petite to really big. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and I
right?
imagine it's kind of the same thing for a business too. You know, two businesses are exactly the same.
Well, this is true.
I mean, even like a franchise. Like if you can go into two different McDonald's and
fair.
I mean, they may have the same menu, but they're not going to be exactly the same.
They're not going to be the same.
They're not going to have the same needs, right?
Yeah, true.
All right, well, that's leading into our conversation.
Oh,
today.
okay.
We're going to talk a little bit about this idea of point of sale in particular.
Aha.
And some misconceptions that we might hear from time to time where folks seem to think like, one
All I
point of
need is
sale is
this.
as good as any other, right?
Yeah, right.
If I find one that, works and that is the right price point for me, I can just cram it in,
Shove it in there
and it'll work, right?
And look, it fits.
Yeah, exactly. And let's be honest, we know that's not the case.
That's
I
not
think
the
most
case.
of our VARs know that's
Yeah,
not the
yeah,
case.
yeah.
But we kind of want to talk about maybe like pitching that to the end users because some of them may not understand that. They may not
don't.
know why you're pitching them
They
one
don't.
certain type over another. So
I think they can just go somewhere and off the shelf. Bing, bing,
yeah,
bye.
exactly. So we have Josh Wintoniak from AutoStar joining
Fair
us
enough.
today.
Yep.
He's going to help us dive into this conversation.
He's a good guy.
We're
Yep.
going to talk about his time in the industry, what has changed about POS, especially why it's becoming more important than ever to have them as specific and customized as possible.
Yes.
We're going to talk
Got it.
about that true one size fits all. What does that really mean? Is that even possible at all? We're going to get into retailers that benefit from specific types of point of sale and why why they might need something very specific.
Aha.
And we'll also let AutoStar talk a little bit about their expertise and
Got it.
how
Yeah.
they fit into
Good
this
stuff.
and go in with a customer specific approach too.
Fair enough.
There you go. I think we're going to cover some stuff here.
Yeah, we got it.
All that plus our usual value to the VAR. What's tech connecting with us? It's time to plug in and get connected.
Welcome to the TEConnect podcast. It's time to get connected.
All right, as I mentioned, our guest today is Josh Wintoniak. He is the sales manager for AutoStar CompuSystems. We've done a webinar with him in the past, so I recommend go to the show notes. I'll drop a link in there to that webinar if you want to learn more about what they offer and some of the, again, the not one size fits all attitude about point of sale here. So,
Right.
Josh, thanks so much for joining us today. Tell us a little bit about your background. I believe you've kind of been in this industry for a while, and what's your day-to-day like at AutoStar?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be in the TEConnect podcast and be on this side of the recording. Long time listener, big fan. So it's great to be in. So I've been with AutoStar for actually just at my 19th anniversary. I guess you can count the gray hairs starting to sprout to count those years as you go back. But I manage our sales channel all across North America. Selling some to end users in Canada, but primarily serving and supporting our reseller channel, throughout Canada, throughout the US, and down through the Caribbean. I like to tell the story of who AutoStar is real briefly as well, because people hear that name AutoStar and they're like, what is this? Is it a car? Is this a car thing? Way back in the day when I started with AutoStar, I was on the tech side of things and taking support calls. And I once had somebody give me a call asking me if I could unlock their truck because they thought we were OnStar. And I was very, very tempted to mess with them a little bit, but I did correct them. But
I'm sending the code right now. Right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But AutoStar, we've been in business for actually 40 years now. And it's kind of a cool story. It's a couple brothers owned a Honda car dealership in Little Alberta, Canada. And they contracted somebody back in 1980 to write some software to control their parts inventory, right? That person skipped town. And they thought, well, how hard can this programming be? back in 1980, it was probably pretty close to being a mechanic, which these two brothers were. They were each mechanics. Picked up a book, learned how to program, and wrote some really cool inventory optimization and suggested ordering software for their parts department. Time went by. They started selling that to a couple auto dealerships for a couple of years. Still had the Honda car dealership, and one of the first customers that ever bought a car from them actually was a partner in a small pharmacy chain. And they said, "Hey, if you could put a cash register on the front of this thing, this would be really cool. We'd really have something." Back in the day, it literally was an old, I think, IBM cash register that they added. But that was our foray. That got us into sort of point of sale. We quickly got rid of the car dealership, and it was full speed ahead into pharmacy, grocery, health, and other retail verticals at that point.
I think it's safe to say that AutoStar's been around for a little while, right? Yeah. Like from the very, very beginning. And then connecting the dots, though, between inventory for an auto part or whatever, auto dealership, and a pharmacy. I don't know. Yeah. But hey, you're just tracking assets at that point.
I love those stories, though, where somebody's like, awesome. Hey, we started off doing something in one area and figured out a way that we could go in a completely different direction and yet still work. I love those. That's always a great story. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, then let's get into this conversation. And again, I would assume that most of our VARs understand that point of sale there's differentiation and that it's it's not a one size fits all thing. But I suspect a lot of their end users don't necessarily know. Their customers, I think, will probably, when it's time for them to look for a point of sale, if they go out and just Google something, they're going to find all of the top name brands, and maybe some of those might be fine for them. But I think we all kind of know that what makes a good solution is understanding the customer themselves and
this is true
and what they're there with. So
this is true.
But let's start off with a little backstory though, because again, you've been in this industry for almost 20 years now. So how much has point of sale changed in your time in this industry? I mean, if I back up 20 years, I was still working in retail at a bookstore, and I know that my point of sale, I've mentioned this before, was nowhere near what we see now. It's just a small little screen with green lettering on it and giant bulky machine and cash drawer and basically a typewriter on top of it practically. Yeah, it was not what you see these days. So what have you seen in your time?
Yeah, actually, I really liked the old dot matrix printers back when I was at retail as well. I kind of like folding them and ripping the tabs off of those printouts and whatnot. But the core is still the same, right? We're trying to help these retailers manage their business better, save them time, help them make money, help them manage their business more effectively. So all of that, like the cores are still the same, right? We're still trying to help them run their business. I mean, one of the biggest things though have changed is I think we've all been really challenged and maybe kept honest by a lot of the VC funded POS, cloud-based solutions that have come on the market, really, really cheap, easy to download and just install and start using on your own. And I think all of that has, really made us go back and look at the way we were doing things to say, well, how do we make things easier, right? How do we make sure there's like a real ROI on what we're doing? Back in the day, you would have done a big presentation on this solution. You would have laid out a huge proposal. You would have had, a 90-day project plan, kind of getting everything ready to go. We'd travel on site and there'd be like a pre-install and a post-install. It'd be a really big production. And, when people start questioning, saying, well, I can just sign up for this cloud-based one and it was near pretty much free. That challenged us to go back and look at the way we were doing things and saying, well, can we make it easier, right? Can we make sure that we still provide the value, the specialization that we have, but do we need to fly someone out? Do we need to have this, real proprietary, sort of, again, trying to shove that one size fits all equipment into a retailer space? And it's kind of forced us to be more flexible and really, again, make sure that we're easier to work with. So I think that was a huge challenge for us. Obviously, COVID also made us more efficient. So again, maybe not traveling on site to have someone doing all of the training, building up a lot of online resources. Again, just trying to make things really a whole lot easier for the retailers that we work with.
I think the industry has changed quite a bit, and I like the angle that you're going down there, Josh, and mentioning the VC based or the cloud based, because very disruptive in the whole POS ecosystem. The economic model has changed, whereas now you have resellers and ISVs like Josh that are trying to compete with the free, or what is really nothing's free, right? At the end of the road,
freemium, isn't that what they used to call those
but they're
apps?
still walking in. They still have to. Our resellers still have to compete with this, and they have to dismantle the fact that it's not really free. You're paying for it either on the payment side, right, where they're taking a portion of those proceeds, if you will, if you want to call them proceeds or that percentage. There's a cost associated to all these things, and they do try to jam in. Well, forget about the customization. You get this free, almost what you need kind of a thing, right? And then, it is what it is, and you don't have to pay for it. But I like where you're going. I think that the part of the reason why the market has remained healthy on the reseller side is your ability to become flexible, yet at the same time specialized. I love the way that AutoStar really kind of, you guys focus in on grocery and pharmacy. There's a couple things that they do really, really well. Right. And I think resellers understand that as well, right? We got to get really, really good at these certain things so they can modify to what's changed in the marketplace. Yeah. Think about some of the other things that are changing now. Self-checkout, right? That's one of these things that I was reading on an article that is on the AutoStar site. The demand for self-checkout has gone up 42% in 2021 alone. So, the ability to be able to provide that integration, if you want to go to a self-checkout or those types of things, I think resellers obviously are going to win there, but you got to change to the way that POS has changed, right? And that's one of the ways too, right?
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, I got nothing else to add on that because you're right. There's been enough change over time, and I think again, that whole idea of the VC driven, again, like I said, if you go and Google for a POS, like if you're saying like I want a restaurant point of sale and you Google it, you're going to get like 7 ads that are going to show up first. They're going to be for exactly those free, simple, quick. And I'm not saying that they're all bad.
No, right.
They may not be
they
useful.
Serve a purpose somewhere. Yes,
but again,
absolutely.
if you're and maybe if you're just starting up and you need the cheapest, quickest thing you can, that's fine. But at some point, and that's where we'll get to next year, there's going to be probably some problems if you're not trying to look for a solution that's specialized to you and your business and your situation. So,
well, Josh, I think it also forced us not to take the customer for granted, where they would say, "Oh, your grocery store, great. You can just take our solution. This is what you need." They demanded more. They had better questions for us, and it forced us to go back and really look. Okay, well, what is our actual value proposition? Like, what are we actually doing for these, for this grocery store, for this pharmacy? So we could really show that ROI, why they should go for a solution that is more specialized, more tailored to their industry, right?
And I think you guys have done that really well. Let's dive in there a little bit, because you actually come from back of house. I've just come to learn that you were in the back, in the inventory side, but as opposed to the front of house. And I think that's really important, right? Is to have that holistic kind of solution, analogous to what you guys have. So let's talk about the back of the house and some of the things that you do kind of unique back there. There's 2 terms that you had on your site that I'd like to kind of dive into: the replenishment purchasing part, and then the scientific purchasing. So I guess you guys are so specialized, you're even starting to get into some of the AI, if I could use that, or it's just, manipulate or looking at the data and analyzing the data. But to your point, Josh, in order to be specialized, you got to kind of understand what the customer's needs are and then build a solution around that. And I think your use case here is a really good one. Can you dive in a little bit more about how you guys approach that, or the back of the house too?
Yeah, and it comes from again, going back to sort of the roots of AutoStar as more of an inventory management and optimization company, right? For the first few years of our life, where we really focused on that back of house, managing the inventory, making sure that retailers making smart purchases, making sure they've got the right product on the shelf at the right time. It also comes from having some, real hardcore nerds on the development side, kind of the founders of the company. I heard stories of literally they used to go out with chalkboards, doing math and showing, there's a linear regression and showing the statistical analysis of how they come up with why you should order what you should as a retailer. But For us, we were served well by that we have that as our core, so that when we go into a pharmacy or a grocery store, we're not just saying here's how you can track your inventory. You can watch that number go up or down depending on what you're selling or what you're receiving, but actually using more sophisticated algorithms to look at a number of different factors to try to help optimize that inventory. Um, Looking at things like seasonality, lead time from suppliers, next order date, obviously sales history, applying some smoothing based on sales spikes, all these, again, different factors to try to help retailers really optimize their inventory. For us, it was an interesting challenge as well, and maybe some of the coaching and training that we did for our retailers had to change over the last couple of years, because we used to really focus on that just-in-time inventory, right? It's okay if you've only got a day's supply. Why tie up your own cash in inventory on the shelf? Because you're going to be able to get it in the next day anyways, right? So let your lean on your suppliers and have them really help you manage that. But obviously, with supply chain issues and things like that these days, we've really had to train and sort of toggle some of the settings on our suggested ordering to be more robust, right? Have longer more days of safe stock and those kinds of things. So, being able to have a system that's flexible to that is really, again, served us well. And that's the point of differentiation between us and, some of these more entry level systems where anyone can track inventory going up or down, but it's, how are you actually helping me manage my business, right?
That's right. And I think that's the difference. So when I think about how has POS changed over the years, I mean, from an electronic cash drawer that's dumb, it's a calculator, so it's smarter than me. But there's no. It's just put in the sale and then it registers the sale, to the sophistication of where we're at with people like AutoStar, who can really kind of dive in, tweak the programming to custom fit a particular solution.
Yeah.
That's where we're at today.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we're kind of hinting at this already, but let's talk about these generic systems.
Yeah, right.
And again, if someone says, "Fine, I'm going to download the
the
first
one
thing I
size
find,"
fits all.
I'm just going to squeeze this in. It seems to have what I need. I'm going to push this in there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about what can go wrong there. Like, what do you see when you are talking to someone who has maybe done that or is considering that? How do you approach that from does it do this X, Y, or Z? Like what probably will go wrong in the business if that's the model they choose to pick, just whatever the first simple cheap thing to download is?
Yeah, so we've lived it, right? And I mean, when people call me and they say, well, I can get this one online for free, I say, well, I mean, you could also use a cigar box, right? Like that is a way to track the money coming in, right? And that is definitely an option for you. But again, we've lived that battle. We were a pharmacy focused point of sale, and we said, well, how hard can this grocery be? And we did our first grocery store. This is 25, 30 years ago at this point, 20, 25, 26 years ago, I think at this point. And got the equipment out there, did the conversion. This is a long time ago, so it was quite a big production. Flew out, and nothing worked properly. We weren't handling the scales correctly. We weren't talking to the deli scales. Some of the things like that we do around shelf labels and stuff like that just wasn't working correctly. And we ended up actually failing at that install. We had to go back and look and say, well, we thought it was one size fits all, right? They're just selling stuff like we do over here. And then we quickly realized and took our lumps and had to come back, obviously, reformulate, repurpose, really focus on that, do some new development, talk to our customers, talk to our partners. And what's interesting is this customer actually called me out of the blue a couple of years ago, and I looked them up in our system, and I had like some old notes, and I found it was actually that same grocery store ended up coming back and buying our software 20 years later. And they completely forgot about us, luckily, because we didn't do a very good job the first time. But I had followed through and found some notes, and we ended up getting them as a customer, and they're happy today. So definitely taking those lumps for sure. Another one actually was the first time. This was back when I was on the tech team, still doing training and helping our new resellers get onboarded with us. I went down to Trinidad to do our first install down there. It's great. Can be a nice sunny place. Could be a fun install. And we got on site and we said, well, the sales guy at the time didn't properly qualify and vet them. And we said, wait a minute, you guys need a VAT tax. They do tax included pricing down there. So I show up on site and they say, oh, how do you set up your VAT tax? And I said, what? What is this that you need? So I spent, the better part of a couple of days trying to make this work, trying to get everything going for them. And we ended up having to cut the trip short. I got, a couple of days vacation in Trinidad before heading home, because we had to, again, retool, get things cleaned up, making sure that it would actually work for that market. So, that one size fits all just doesn't. We've just been burned. When you've been around for as long as we have, we've been burned a couple of times. Making some of those assumptions. And yeah, we've definitely lived some of those challenges.
I think stories like that are good. When I was in sales, and I can just imagine resellers having to combat that.
Right.
Somebody walking in with the free or one size fits all,
right,
and they've got this fantastic list of features and benefits,
oh, yeah.
and it looks glossy, and of course, yes, I want all these things, but then you implement it. That doesn't
Suddenly
work
you
for
start
you.
going, man, I really need this. Oh, that's
Yeah.
not part of it. Oh, it'd be nice if I had this. Oh, that's not part of it either.
Right. So I can just imagine how hard that is to combat it. So it's good to have stories like that where you can, relate to the end user. Hey, this is going to be a bad idea, and this is why.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be, again, a trusted advisor to you, type of thing. Because at the end of the road, everybody needs some customization. I don't care who you are, even if you're just a tea shop, on the corner store or whatnot. You're going to have a specialization over the grocery store or the pharmacy or the whatever.
Exactly.
So yeah. Well, I mean, we know that, but you really got to kind of play that.
Exactly.
Play into that.
Yeah. And again, I can harken back to my bookstore days. Like, one of the things that's weird about books is, for some reason, they have their own special number that they use. It's called an ISBN, International Standard Book Number.
Okay.
You don't see this in any other industry for any other thing. That ISBN is specific just to books. But for some reason, that is the adopted code. I think it's I think it was either 10 or 13 digits. I don't remember. It's been far enough back. I've slowly started forgetting this stuff. But, it's something that's very specific to that industry. So I'm sure probably some of these newer POSs probably account for that potentially. But I could also see that being something where maybe they don't. And maybe you have to go out and find one that's specific for bookstores or something.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that where there's those little nuances that every different type of retailer, I think sometimes we have this attitude of retail is just one big thing.
Yeah.
It's just retail. And not realizing, look, there are a lot of different types of
there's
retailers.
Jewelry stores.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
Yogurt stores.
Furniture stores. It's it doesn't matter. There's all different kinds, and they all have different needs. They all have different industry standards. They all have different approaches. So I think stuff like that's big. The other one that occurs to me too is again, when you're thinking about some of these generic ones, a lot of times a big part of the pitch will be you can use your own device.
Oh, right.
You can use your own laptop. You can use your own tablet.
Yeah.
You can use your own mobile device or whatever. You don't have to go out and buy.
And that sounds great.
It does, until you start doing it and realize that purpose-built hardware is built for a reason, because it's meant to withstand the kind of rigors and time and usage that you're going to put it
Why
through.
do all these notifications keep coming up on the screen, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's all that stuff that
it wasn't built for that.
People don't think. And again, I guess if you're starting off, you had a small shop and you're just not doing a lot, it's not a massive amount of business. But if your company wants to grow, if you want to grow this business and get more and more customers, open up other stores, that kind of problems are going to start compounding. And suddenly you're going to find yourself spending so much more money on hardware potentially to run that software, even though that software isn't supposed to need any specialized hardware.
That's really good
it's stuff like that I think that starts adding up that I think people don't think about initially because they just get swayed over by hey, this is free, super cheap, and I can just take this iPad I already have and put it on right here and run my business. And it's just not going to end up being that simple in the long run.
It's not. Nope.
Well, then let's talk about where this stuff does work though. I think to Dean's point you mentioned earlier, every business has some kind of special needs, and customization could easily be done for any business. Again, I think you could go into 4 stores in the same franchise and still find enough nuances and differences to make something a little bit different,
especially regionally, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It could be based on the volume of customer, it could be based on inventory needs, whatever it is. There's going to be stuff there. But I know there's also some industries that really do benefit from a specialized POS that's built and meant for them. So talk to us about some of those, Josh. Where do you go out and see hey, you are somebody that definitely can't take a one size fits all approach, or not even most sizes that are out there even. You need something that's built and created just for you. Where do you see that?
I mean, so there's some of the places that we that we serve for sure. Places where there are actual legal requirements. So, obviously, if you get into a pharmacy space, they have HIPAA requirements and patient confidentiality requirements, specific messaging, labeling requirements. Little things like a patient or a customer goes into a pharmacy, they have to sign to waive having safety caps on the pill bottle, right? So these are actual requirements that if you are going to do business, you need to satisfy these. So could be that. It could be, maybe in the grocery space with things like weights and measures certifications on scales. Obviously, new industries like cannabis, gun shops, places like that, liquor stores where you need to like actual legal requirements to like do age verification, right? It's simple things like that that are definitely going to be a place where right away you need something that's specialized to your industry. Not one size fits all is really gonna work for you, right?
Dive a little bit more into the pharmacy because I think that's really an intriguing one. I just imagine the compliance, issues that a pharmacy faces. I mean, you guys have obviously found a little bit of a niche there, but let's dive in. Is it just that, or I was also reading about inventory here, and I cannot imagine trying to wrangle inventory for a pharmacy. I mean, you get into replenishment purchasing, suggestive ordering, emergency ordering, I guess are some triggers that are kind of on the back end of your software. But so talk to us a little bit about how pharmacies are unique and why that is a specialized type of a thing.
Yeah, and that industry has changed quite a bit over the last few years as well, and it's really driven a lot by the major drug wholesalers, right? So you've got McKesson, Cardinal, AmerisourceBergen, some of the largest actual drugs wholesalers. They're supplying the actual drugs to the back of pharmacy, to hospitals, and many other areas. And in a lot of cases, they're also supplying the technology that pharmacies need to run their businesses, whether it be the system that the pharmacist is using to actually prescribe drugs, check insurance, drug interactions, those kinds of things. But in many cases, they're also supplying the actual point of sale solution as well. So when we look at things like some of the more advanced features we have around inventory, I think a lot of that ends up being driven by, having such strong wholesalers that really lean on technology in those markets that can, help serve these pharmacies. So if you go into a health food store, right, just a mom and pop vitamin supplement store, they might deal with hundreds of suppliers, right? Whereas the pharmacy can deal with one or two, right? And that helps us to actually build solutions that integrate with the wholesaler for ordering. We can really rely a little bit more on that just-in-time inventory in a lot of those cases as well. So in a place like pharmacy, when we look at inventory management, I think the fact that it's such a consolidated industry, it really has these large billion-dollar companies that are driving the actual drug sales. That's allowed us to kind of like build some of this technology as well, for sure.
So it is an opportunity. Like if a reseller wasn't really playing in the pharmaceutical or health space, health supplement kind of space, because you see those pop up all over the place too. There's a play here, right? If they contact you and they've got an opportunity there's something they could do.
So it's real challenging for sure. I actually, I don't know if I would get into pharmacy today, frankly, if
That's
if
fair.
we were starting.
That's why I'm asking.
Scratch.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we a few years back, we looked at the Australian pharmacy market. Very similar to North America. You've got a dispensary system in the back. You've got a POS system in the front. Big wholesalers. They've got laws that require sites be independently owned as well. So we thought this is great. We're going to go in there and do really well with what we've have across North America. But then we looked at it and said, well, once we started to go in there, we realized, well, the same reason why we are so successful where we are, because we built all of these integrations, we have these long-standing relationships with group, all of this specialization, that is such a barrier for us to get into, to go into another market, even if that market looks and feels very much the same as ours. So that would be a real tough market to get into. Certainly resellers would be able to supply some of the technology they need around, 2D scanners and certainly label printers in the back of the pharmacy, medical grade equipment as well, things that can be cleaned properly. If you're getting into the institutional space, there's definitely a play for resellers there. But on the pharmacy POS side of things, that would be a stretch to get into if it was me starting from scratch for sure. And actually, to take that a step further, a lot of these wholesalers or pharmacy technology companies have started offering legitimately free pharmacy POS.
That's what you just mentioned. Yeah, right.
Yeah, because again, all they're trying to do is get kind of that back of house prescription driving machine, that drug selling machine going, right? So if they need to, offer technology for free or near free, then it makes sense for them. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep. Interesting.
Man, that's got to be tough because, it's one thing to have to go up against other potential competitors in your own space or just the random point of sale competitors that are out there. But then if you're going up against the companies who are already deeply embedded with that industry because they're supplying something else and decided on the side hustle, like, hey, you know what? We can actually supply something else, X, Y, Z to you for free as well.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that.
People don't realize like McKesson as a drug wholesaler is $1 billion technology company by themselves, right?
Yeah, right.
Just the technology aspect of what they do. So yeah, it is a really interesting industry, and it is very, very specialized, very, very niche for sure.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah. Maybe that's an example of where getting super customized and niche can actually become a little bit of an issue because somebody might be able to capture that market by just getting so ingrained and so good at that specific market.
This is true.
We're seeing a whole lot more. Yeah, we're definitely seeing more opportunity when it comes to the grocery space, right? Place where things are a little bit more fragmented. A space where you used to have a separate POS, separate back office, separate loyalty program, separate label program, a different enterprise or head office system, right? So if you can have a single seamless solution, that's where where we've definitely been seeing a lot more success for sure.
And that's a market that's specialized though. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of ethnic groceries around, my house and stuff like that. They're popping up all over the place. Did COVID taught us one thing, like how to cook, right? How to get back into the kitchen and start cooking again. So you're starting to see all these specialty markets.
Grocery stores were not necessarily hurt too badly by it.
No, right.
Maybe get people in, but as long as you could find a way to get people groceries, people needed them, because they weren't going out to restaurants.
But their needs are unique, right? Yeah. I mean, they've got unique inventory needs. There's the omni-channel that's kind of creeping into that space. Buy online, go ahead and pick up on store.
Yep.
I mean, even the small grocers are having to deal with those kind of trends, right, Josh?
We're starting to see like DoorDash and some of these other delivery services for restaurants that are now offering pickup from your local local pharmacy, local grocery, and it's a lot of the smaller stores that are doing that too now.
Yeah.
It's definitely an area that we've been challenged with as well. As we looked at it and said, well, if we're going to go in and offer an e-commerce solution to a grocery store, it can't just be the regular sort of Shopify moving boxes one, right? Because a grocery store, they have produce, right? If I buy that steak online and I said, give me a, 1 pound steak, and it ends up being 1.2, right? Like there's different ways that you need to manage that. When you go and pick those orders, what are you going to do with all of that stuff that needs to be in a freezer, right? So we've had to develop specialized solutions around e-commerce and partner with other companies actually that offer those more specialized e-commerce solutions that again, are more niche focused to the grocery and grocery vertical, right?
And I think going back to your earlier point about the idea that if you walk into a place that has all these disparate systems that are doing different parts of the business, one for the actual checkout, one for the back of the house, one for inventory, one for pricing, loyalty, all this kind of stuff. If you're seeing that's right there it can be a golden opportunity. That's the kind of customer I would walk into and say, hey, let's talk about how we can put all this together in one system where it's all tied together. They all talk to each other. That when someone is making their purchase, it's talking to the inventory, it's talking to the folks in the back of the house to restock the shelf. It's applying points to their loyalty program. It's allowing you to do price changes on the fly if that's something you need to do. Because you get some of these businesses that have very variable pricing that can maybe shift throughout a week or even throughout the day or something. And that's the kind of stuff you need to be able to make those updates happen as quick as possible. So I think that's to me, that would be like, it's, rather than say like, hey, there's an exact perfect industry to go find this kind of opportunity. It's the ones where you walk in and find them that they have so many different things going on that are all disconnected. And there's a great opportunity for you to put it all together, because ultimately that's what we're always we're always trying to accomplish and wanting to do.
Bring efficiencies.
Yeah, exactly. How do we bring efficiencies?
Yep.
By making sure that all these different systems you have are all at least some way connecting and speaking to each other, or ideally replacing them with a system that was already interconnected from the beginning.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it's been an opportunity for our resellers for sure, right? It's now, pandemic happened, obviously they had to start offering delivery or e-commerce solutions. Now there's been a huge drive for, things like electronic shelf labels or self-checkout. And, when you look at, the grocery space and other retail verticals as well, is, if all you focused on was just the POS, right, you're really missing out. You have a relationship with that customer, you're a trusted advisor already, you know their business. How can you offer, these add-on or incremental solutions that, helps the business, obviously helps you as a reseller as well.
Yep.
Bingo.
Definitely. There you go. Well, then let's tell us a little more about AutoStar's approach to all this. I think you've kind of hinted at a lot of that, and you've told a lot of stories about what you guys do and the approaches you take and what has and hasn't worked. But what is it like for you when someone calls you in and said, "Hey, I'm interested in a new point of sale system. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I've got all this other stuff I'm looking at that tells me that it's free, or these other people over here that are telling me they can do something like they can jam it in. It was meant for this other business, but they can shove it in here." What's your and AutoStar's approach to that when you go to meet a customer that needs a solution and maybe has some specific needs? How do you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm talking to a retailer directly, and it's a market that I'm very familiar with, like grocery or pharmacy, I usually try to combat a lot of that by asking questions, right? And say, well, how are you going to manage this, or how do you do this? How important is this to your business? And then that's when they almost start to lead themselves to realize, oh, well, the other guys didn't ask me any of that. I didn't realize that was something that should be important. But I don't know any, I'm certainly not an expert in every market. I don't know everything that these retailers need. So we really look to lean on our local and regional resellers, right? Because they know their local market a whole lot better than I do, certainly. And they know those questions to ask, right? And then we have a process for gathering that feedback from our dealers to make sure that we're satisfying what the market needs and that they have the tools they need to sell and be successful. But for me, it's asking those kinds of questions to really drive the merchant to come to that realization. If someone calls you and says, "Hey, this looks really cool. It's on a tablet. I think I'd like to go with this. What do you have?" And you say, "Wow, that's stupid. Why would you get an iPad?" Right? What's the response that you're going to get, right? So I think working with them as an advisor and saying, "Well, that's totally fine if you go with that. I'm happy to help you out. I've got a lot of experience in this industry. Let me ask you a couple questions and maybe I can point you in the right direction, even if it's not with us." And more often than not, they end up coming back and saying, you answered all of our questions. It was really great to work with you. I think we see the value now of working with you. And again, that's what our resellers look to do as well.
And do you find yourself being able to customize around some of that? I mean, I love the fact that as an ISV, you're looking for the feedback from your dealers, right? If they're in a deal, they're working a deal, hey, by the way, we need this one little feature or something like that. Is that something you guys can facilitate as well?
Yeah, so I mean, we certainly do a ton of custom development.
Yeah, right.
We're doing that all the time. We have an ongoing process of collecting feedback from our resellers and from our merchants. They're actively looking at development through scheduled webinars to provide that feedback and making sure that we're really keeping our finger on the pulse of what's needed. So that's definitely a part of it. The fact that this our Windows-based solution anyways has been around for many years at this point, and it's constantly being updated. So I don't want to say that we can do everything and we've thought of everything. But if someone says, "Hey, I'd like to run this kind of promotion," right? It's a good chance we've seen it somewhere, right? Or something similar to that, right? Both from the software side, but then also from like the technical support side. A company that's been around the block for a while. A lot of our staff have been around for a long time as well. They have some of these gray hairs that I mentioned. And but what that means is they've probably been asked that question before, right? And say, "Well, this is how this other store did it. Would that work for you?" Right? Having that kind of experience for sure.
And I think that's why having a good software company like AutoStar on your side is going to be able to enable that, right? Because everybody needs a little bit, or the knowledge base that Josh was just talking about. These are key things to help your business grow.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Yeah, completely agree. All right. Well, hey, before we wrap up here by talking a little bit maybe more about the hardware side of things and where that differentiation and not one size fits all can fit in the picture here, let's take a brief moment, as always, to thank our sponsors. We appreciate all of the vendors that support BlueStar's TEConnect program in general, which supports us indirectly as well, and then just those that support the podcast also and reach out and provide us with some guests and some talking points and things to discuss. We appreciate your support. Of course, as always, we need to hear feedback from you, the listener, viewer, however you're consuming this podcast. If you're listening to the audio-only version, if you're someone that likes just to pipe it in your ears while you're busy doing stuff, that's me. I'm the guy. If there's an opportunity for me to stick earbuds in my ears and listen to a podcast, I'm doing it. So if that's who you are, take a brief moment, pull your phone out of your pocket or get on your laptop or tablet, whatever it is you're listening on. Open up your podcaster of choice. And if there's an opportunity in there to leave a rating or review, just do it.
Yeah, there you go.
Seriously, just right now, just for us. And maybe try that out for like some of your other favorite podcasts from time to time. It's a great way to let folks know that you like them. It's a great way to help spread the word.
Yes.
The more ratings, the more reviews, the more it gets pushed up charts and gets recommended to people. So we'd love to see that. I'd love to get some of those reviews and read some of them on air sometime. So don't hesitate to do that. Of course, you can also, on YouTube, you can hit like, subscribe, leave comments for us. And hey, we talk about this all the time. We need to know what you want to hear about on the show.
That's right. Be our dealer.
I'm happy to come up with random topics.
Yeah, give us the feedback.
There you go.
Give us the feedback.
We can find random stuff to talk about anytime, but if you're tired of the random stuff we're coming up with and you want a specific topic for us to talk about, in the show notes, there is always a link to a quick little website where all you got to do is put in your name, your email, and say, hey, this is what I want to hear you guys talk about on the show. This is a topic I would recommend for you. Even if we don't use it, and most likely we're going to find a way to use it if we can,
because
we're interested in these what you guys want to hear about. Yeah. But we will send you a TEConnect podcast T-shirt just for leaving us one of those.
That is soft and wonderful. What did Jody
soft
call it?
And wonderful is
something like that.
That's officially what it is. It's the official soft and wonderful TEConnect podcast T-shirt. Do we have to pay Jody for saying that
we
now?
probably will,
Did you trademark that probably? Yeah. And of course, if you need to stay in touch with us and keep connected with us, you can always email us, TEConnect@BlueStarInc.com, or find us on Twitter @TECConnectPod. All right, let's wrap things up here. First of all, with our value of the VAR, and I hinted at a moment ago, let's talk a little bit about the hardware side of things. Sir. Because I think a lot of our angle here has been point of sale software and maybe overall
features
solutions.
And functionalities.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But obviously, the hardware side of things, there can be some specificity and some customization needs there and business specific needs. It's again not a one size fits all proposition for what kind of hardware you need. So talk to us a little bit more about that, Josh. Where do you see opportunities to kind of dictate, specified hardware when you're dealing with these opportunities?
Yeah, for sure. And we don't sell hardware. We look to partner with the best of breed solutions that are out there, connect with some of those companies through BlueStar and other ways as well. We look to partner with best of breed solutions in each of the vertical markets that we go after. So it may have been, we were in New York at the NRF show this year with HP. They invited us in our booth to show off this new purpose-built retail self-checkout. Very different than what you would have in a grocery environment, right? We've also recently become a Toshiba partner, and we have a convertible self-checkout now. It can be used as a regular self-checkout or regular checkout with the full staff attendant there. You can hit a button and move it into an unattended self-checkout mode as well. So really, purpose-built solutions for specific industries are super important or just required. I mean, I drive a Mini Cooper, and if I need to move some lumber, that's not going to get the job done for me, right? So I can move the seats down. There's quite a bit of space in the back actually when you fold those seats down. But you need a truck. You need something that's made to do the job properly, right? And that's if we're making a recommendation to our customers, if we're certifying on specific hardware, we need to make sure that it's going to do the job for them. We're kind of implicitly vouching for it when we do that, right? So we need to make sure that's purpose built for their industry and it's going to do the job.
I'll throw on the table aesthetics, right? We're seeing a lot more interest in like enclosures, pole mounts, those types of things because the look we talk about the shopper experience, and if there are no such things as just generic stores anymore. Anything that's opening has a look, has a feel, and so the aesthetics are very important.
You can't just drop some random cash drawer and a monitor in some place, that totally is completely opposite of the design of the rest of the place.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but you got to probe on that front.
Right.
Because even the small ma and pas want to differentiate themselves, they're sensitive to customer experience too. So the hardware, the mounting, all those things come into play.
Yeah. That's exactly the kind of stuff I think about too. And it goes back to what you were mentioning earlier, this idea of being consultative and asking some questions. Things like, hey, do you routinely have people buying large items that maybe a wire barcode scanner is not going to help, because you need to have a free scanner that you can pop out and walk around the counter and scan something, like it's that kind of stuff, those little details that maybe they don't think about, especially if you're working with someone that's just starting their business or just getting
they got
ready
their
to
mind on
upgrade.
other stuff, not line busting.
That's
helping,
where that's exactly where it's your opportunity to ask questions like, hey, do you frequently have like super long lines where it'd be helpful to have a mobile point of sale that you could send out and ring somebody up, or ring them out on the floor and let them get on to their day. It's those little kind of things where I think if you in my mind, I've never done this or been in this, that role, but I would walk into these stores and spend some time looking around. Be a shopper yourself for a few minutes. And just what is the experience for me as a shopper, and what could be better about it from a perspective of me deciding I want to purchase something, or
from a
needing
technology
help on the floor, or identifying where stuff is or whatever. And wherever you see things that would challenge you as a customer, hey, guess what? That's what the rest of their customers are seeing also. And it's easily stuff you can point out. And again, from some, point of experience. Hey, you know what? When I was buying this giant box, the person at the counter had to yank on the cord to get it over top. I had to bend it a certain way and just about broke my back just to try to, put this up here to get scanned.
Wouldn't a wireless scanner be so much more effective?
Perfect opportunity. Exactly. Like, hey, you know what? There's a very simple fix for that,
So there's never been better options than there are now from a lot of our hardware partners, right? Having whether it be a convertible point of sale or a tablet mounted, fixed mounted, but then can be taken in to do line busting or curbside delivery, those kinds of things. So we work with the folks at like Touch Dynamic, for instance. You have your all-in-one POS sitting there, but then you can also pick that tablet basically off the stand, go and do your workout in the aisle, drop it back in place. So, certainly for us as software developers, there's a lot of tools in the toolbox now that we can look at. And, again, that's why we, work with companies like BlueStar, is connecting the dots with a lot of those pieces, right? And learning about some of the different hardware platforms that are out there that can help enable what we're trying to do here, right?
That's what I was just going to say. It's got to be exciting for you as software developers to be able to say, hey, I can build in even more flexibility in what I'm doing here because the hardware is finally caught up. Like I know I can make something that is meant to be mobile because now we've got these mobile offerings, or something that's meant for this specific type of self-service station, because now we've got those options out there. That's got to be exciting for you guys too.
Yeah, I think it's a change of mindset as well, and it is a challenge certainly for developers to think about that differently, right? We used to just say, well, we're going to make this software, it works fine on my desktop computer sitting in my office with my mouse and keyboard, right? And that's how they're sitting there using it that way. But realizing that, the two are paired together, right? The hardware, software is part of like sort of the whole experience, and starting to be creative around what we're developing, what we're creating, and not just saying, well, that's the hardware side, someone else will take care of that, right? But having something that's developed for a specific platform, for a specific use, using some of, this new technology, right?
All right, hey, let's wrap up as always with our favorite fun segment of the week. What's TEConnecting with you?
Yes, sir.
This is where we get to chat about something in the world of science, tech,
or
innovation, business, whatever. Something that has got us excited, something that's got us terrified for the world to be, whatever it might be.
Yes.
Josh, we'll let you start here. What's TEConnecting with you right now?
Sure, and this might be one you guys have talked about before, but I don't know if you guys have started playing around with this ChatGPT.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
The first time I typed in a question, I was just gobsmacked by how well it did. And I know we see some funny stuff online now, and maybe the Bing chatbot that wants to maybe take over the world or whatever it wants.
Right.
But, I did a couple
or
things.
break up families, whatever.
Yeah.
Break up family. I saw that one. Yeah, I saw that one as well. But I mean, I typed in I had my wife beside me and I said, hey, let's try this thing out. And I typed in write a story about these two people. And it basically wrote I recently got married, wrote our love story kind of thing. And I was like, this is amazing. Like wrote a whole story. But then that's kind of fun to do. But then the next thing I typed in was write me a 1,500 word blog post on the benefits of electronic shelf labels and point of sale. And it wrote my blog post, right? Like it wrote the whole thing, and it was pretty much done, right? So, for us, I think thinking about like what are some applications for that kind of technology? Is it the merchant saying, hey, find me the best point of sale reseller near me, or saying, write me a loyalty promotion, including, pitch, email, and everything. It can do that for you. I've tried it. It can absolutely do that. And, how can we leverage some of that technology to, again, just make things easier for the retailer and obviously for our resellers as well. But really, really cool. I know it seems like a toy, but
it's not. No, we've been talking about it.
We literally just recorded a podcast this morning about this very topic.
Yeah.
It'll be.
It was the week before this one.
For those listening, it was literally last week's episode that we just had this conversation. But yes, to your point,
you're dead on.
It's blowing up right now. That's why we had to talk about it, because it's all anyone has been talking about, especially in the marketing side.
Because we're trying to figure out what are the use cases. You just came up with a couple other ones, Josh. That I wasn't even thinking about. That are use cases.
Yeah, if you're someone maybe that needs to have your vowels written or something, and you're not good at that sort of thing,
right?
ChatGPT could probably help you with it. So.
everything's kind of like that, where it seems like a toy at first, right? And you're like, well, this is kind of neat. Like, what's this internet thing? Why would I use that?
Until it takes over the world.
That's right. Right. And then eventually, companies to catch up and users catch up, and we realize what we can actually do with this thing. And so it's really cool.
More importantly, someone figures out how to make some money off of it. That's usually where we find out where it makes that pivot.
Well, I got two TEConnectings with me, and one of them is in this vein because Spotify is taking a job away from you, John. Not to keep rubbing more salt in the wound, because I know you love to make your mixtapes.
Oh yes.
Spotify has debuted a personalized AI DJ. Did you know that?
I think I did see something about this. I didn't read too far into it because I don't use Spotify that much.
Well, okay. So your love of creating mixtapes and what you listen to. Well, apparently there's an AI out there that can do that. Well, to be fair,
Apple Music kind of does that too. Like you can go.
This is true.
You can go and find playlists and stations that have customized to your.
And then it'll give you like a recap
tastes.
of the year. Do you ever get?
Your
ultimate mixtape, which is here's what I listen to.
The problem with mine is on
2022.
Apple Music is that it also pulls in all the stuff that my son makes me listen to in the car over and over again.
Yeah.
So it's like the first 20 tracks are just now. Granted, he's like he likes to listen to some of my music and pick the stuff that he likes out of that. I've made a playlist for him, but that's all it is. Like the first half of my rap, not Spotify rap, but like the Apple Podcasts or Apple Music playlist for the year is all the stuff that's always on his playlist that will always play in the car.
Right.
Not really representative of my
Your
taste from the year.
Yes.
Still stuff I like, but it's also stuff I'm kind of tired of. So
it misses the mark just a little bit.
Exactly.
All right, here's my second one. We maybe have made scientists a little bit upset. So the balloons.
I'm sure we've done it before.
Can we talk about the balloons?
I know where we're going here.
Yeah. So we keep shooting down balloons, and the scientists are like, "Hey, would you stop shooting down our balloons? Because who knew? High altitude balloons, a scientist's guide to what's up there and why, is now being published. And I'll be darned, it just opened up my mind that there's a whole shoot ton of balloons out there. Not to mention that I think NASA. Or somebody launches 2 a day or like every hour or something like. Wait a minute, here it is. By far, the weather balloons are launched twice a day simultaneously from 900 locations worldwide. And then it goes on to just talk about just the amount of balloons that are actually being used. They're biodegradable, blah, blah, blah. NASA sends up 10 to 15 of them every single year, and they can apparently carry 3 school buses worth of
maybe this
stuff.
was China's actual goal, is to just make us so paranoid about everything that's floating around in the sky. We just start shooting everything down.
I don't know about you guys, but last year, my hometown had a hot air balloon festival and looked really cool. Everyone's taking their Instagram photos, with all of these hot air balloons. But I don't know if I'm going anywhere near there this year.
No doubt.
So I think we got to cool our jets on the balloons, right? Because they do have some great qualities. I mean, how else are you just going to sit there and monitor something for a little bit, right?
And the thing is, I didn't think about that because I, like everyone else, was going, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, one day I saw this random article, and all I saw was the headline.
It too? Yeah,
I don't know if it's the same one, but I saw a random headline. It says, such scientists concerned that their missing balloon may have been shot down. I was like, oh, crap. I'm like, that makes sense now.
Yeah, the scientists, we've really upset some of these weather scientists and whatnot.
That completely makes sense. Like, oh, great. There's some people out there that are just out there.
They're like, hey,
doing the same thing they've been doing for decades.
Yeah. Oh, now it's on the radar.
And suddenly it's a problem because we got scared of one
never hear about balloons, but now we're shooting them down.
Not to mention, I mean, like, there are these things called satellites. I feel like they probably do a slightly better job than a
They do, but
balloon,
I get the weather balloon because you got to
I'm not talking about.
I'm
talking about for the spy folks.
Oh yeah. That's got me scratching my head. I don't understand.
But
I'm with you there.
All right, that's a good one.
Anyway, that's mine. What's TEConnecting with you?
Let's talk very briefly here because I didn't dive that far into it because I just didn't care that much.
Okay.
But I don't know if you heard that Meta decided to announce their own verified system.
No.
So obviously,
wait a minute. So if you're a person in the metaverse,
I think it's like for Facebook potentially.
Okay.
Like I don't even know if it's for the metaverse. Again, did not spend a lot of time. It's one of those things. I saw a headline, did a brief bit of reading. It was like I just don't care because.
Pay extra for that just so you can get the multi-factor authentication.
Did you see that? So Twitter. So if you recall, Twitter obviously has had this hullabaloo because of their whole verified system. And they completely changed the way that like the Twitter verification system, which used to be set up where you had to go through a vetting process if you were a celebrity or a news person, politician, whatever, to officially verify that an account belonged to you, and then you got that check mark on your account to indicate that this is actually a post, a tweet, whatever that came from you, the real person,
whoever it is,
and not the 50 other accounts that say they're you and aren't. Which was, to me, a fairly smart idea, good system. Well, of course, when Elon took over, one of the things he decided to change up is like, hey, we're going to do this, but now we're going to charge you for it.
Right.
So whereas before it was a free system, you just had to go through the vetting process. Now it's like you got to be vetted. Well, you don't really need to be vetted. You basically just pay us some money, and we'll give you that check to say you've been verified and give you some extra.
So Meta's doing the same thing now?
Meta's planning basically to do something similar. And essentially what this comes down to me, this feels to me like this is a one more sign of the end of that version of social media.
Oh,
because we've talked about this before. I feel like the Facebooks and the Twitters, these early social media platforms from the early 2000s, 2010s, that are starting to become a little archaic, starting to get replaced by newer, hipper, younger stuff, and are starting to become problematic for various reasons over time. I feel like they're on their way out, and this is some of their last desperate gasps of trying to figure out how can we continue to earn some more money. And now it's going to be
a money grab.
Pay us to allow you to be officially verified as being who you say you are.
Yes.
Because we're not getting enough money from advertisers anymore. We're hemorrhaging users. All those other reasons that they're probably not making the money that they want anymore. And this is their last attempt
Wall
to try
Street's
to do
upset.
that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
they can't.
exactly.
Yeah.
So this was just one more thing. As soon as I saw it, I was like, well, I mean, this is clearly your response to what Twitter is doing. And you know, Josh, you just mentioned it, like a big part of the Twitter problem is apparently they also announced to anybody who had signed up, like now that like only if you signed up for that would you be allowed to have two-factor authentication anymore. And
I think you could use a separate app for it for free. But apparently all of the text messages that we get to give us a code to sign into things apparently costs a lot of money. And I guess Elon started spending it there, I guess. And they're saying, well, you can only use this type of verification if you're paying for it. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, he basically said like, you know, it's costing us too much to send all these texts out to everybody.
Yeah.
You understand me?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of I think where we're landing with this whole verified.
Now, all right.
At this point.
So I'd say, well, I know you're off Facebook anyways, but it's safe to say you weren't going to verify.
No, I'm not interested.
Maybe I'll verify as John. Then.
Yeah, sure. Because a lot of people really care about whether it's really me out there. So
good stuff.
All right, that's what's TEConnecting with us, or not in the case of that last one for me.
Right,
Josh Wintoniak from AutoStar. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. A lot of fun.
Until next time, go get yourself verified, or maybe sign up for TEConnect Verified.
Yeah,
you can only get the special secret episodes if you're signed up for TEConnect Verified.
Yeah,
it's just me and Dean talking about Star Wars.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
That's it. And as always, folks, please stay connected. TEConnect podcast is brought to you by Elo. All right, Dean, we've been talking all about point of sale today. Let's talk about Elo's part of the point of sale process here.
They got good stuff.
So purpose-built for point of sale, which, checks out.
Yeah.
The Elo E-Series 2 offers a 15.6-inch touchscreen display, Intel's 9th generation Celeron processor, and an integrated expansion hub to connect the peripherals you need.
Nice.
From cash drawers and printers to barcode scanners and payment devices, connectivity covers it all. There you go.
There you go.
Got a whole solution you can drop right into play there. So,
boom.
For added flexibility, the E-Series 2 offers models with Windows 10 or no operating system, providing businesses with the best solution to customize for their environment, covered by a 3-year warranty. To learn more, contact your BlueStar representative. TEConnect Podcast is also brought to you by Zebra. All right, Dean, a barcode scanner is a barcode scanner, right?
Well,
I mean, we kind of had this whole podcast talking about one size fits all is not the solution.
No,
So
that's
not the answer.
yes.
Well, when your customer's choosing a scanner, what they're looking for are scanning abilities.
yeah.
Can it scan dirty, damaged barcodes? Can it scan from long distances or up close? Can it survive harsh work environments or daily wear and tear? Zebra anticipates every challenge when building their barcode scanner portfolio, so they can scan anything, anywhere, no matter what. With over 50 years of field-proven innovation, Zebra delivers options for every purpose and price point. General use, ultra-rugged, healthcare, in-counter, fixed mount, and more. No more issues, no more surprises, just consistent scans.
Exactly what you want.
I'm sure if you worked in retail these days, and if something's not scanning, or in warehousing, whatever it is,
Miserable.
smash that thing.
Exactly.
Now, it might be super rugged, so maybe you can't smash it well enough.
Well,
but
take you 100 times.
Yeah,
but anyway.
check out the link in the show notes to download Zebra's scanner brochure and find a selector tool to help you find the right hardware for any